Today's reading is from Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 through 25. From that time on, Jesus began to show his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed, and on the third day be raised. And Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him, saying, "Far be it from you, Lord, this shall never happen to you." But he turned and said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a hindrance to me, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man." Then Jesus told his disciples, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will find it."
So as many people know, in January, Andy Graham went to Africa and volunteered at a mission over there, and we are blessed to have him here this morning to talk a little bit about that. So the organization is Seven Hills Global Outreach. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that. It's an acronym is SHGO, and so people say SHGO.
Correct. Yep. SHGO, or Seven Hills Global Outreach, is a charity affiliate of a company called Seven Hills Foundation, and that's located in Worcester. And it gets its name from the fact that there are 7 hills in Worcester, and its mission is to support, to provide humanitarian efforts to 8 of the poorest countries in the world.
Okay, and so it's based in Worcester. We're in North Reading. How did you connect with SHGO?
Okay, the SHGO is run by Dr. David Jordan, and he's the CEO of Seven Hills Foundation, but he's also a professor at Clark University, where my daughter Tracy attended school, and she was a student in one of his classes. And in the class, he invited any student to come to Africa with him on his mission work. And she was excited about it, but she was the only student in the class to take up his invitation. So when he asked if there was anybody else she knew, that's where I came in.
Okay. And as you said, you went to Sierra Leone and Kenya. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about it. We have this map here.
Okay, yes. Sierra Leone is on the west coast of Africa, and for 11 years they suffered a devastating civil war. And then shortly after that, they suffered 3 years of the Ebola virus. And as a result, Sierra Leone is now one of the poorest countries in the world. And this is a picture of the capital city, Freetown, where they have trouble just keeping up with their trash, and this is a typical scene.
Very typical, yeah. And then the next is Kenya.
Okay, yeah, Kenya is located on the eastern part of Africa. It's a 9.5-hour flight between the two countries, and Kenya is better off financially because they have tourism and coffee exports, but they also, in its capital city, have the largest urban slum in Africa, and that's called Kibera. And here, well, in that last picture, yeah, here is the team, the SHGO team, with our partners. Mm-hmm. And let's see, and we're in Kibera, where it's just where people are living right next to each other. Mm-hmm. Oh, and in
the next slide as well.
Okay. And in Kibera, there are 500,000 residents that live in 1 square mile, and that's what we're seeing here.
So how long were you in Africa, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you did while you were in both those countries.
Okay, the trip was 11 days. 3 days were just travel, and here's the team coming into Sierra Leone, and we met. Okay, let's see
Your business partner.
Yeah, okay, we met with our business partner in Sierra Leone, Pastor Michael Sanu, and all the business partners in each of the different countries tend to be ministers because they're very powerful people. And so the first project we did was to work on...
This is in Sierra Leone.
Yeah, this is in Sierra Leone. And the first project we worked on was there's a footbridge that currently stands that's very dangerous, especially during the rainy season. People carrying large items are walking across a slippery bridge. They slip off of it, fall into the rushing river, and drown. So we had planned to build another footbridge, but after talking to the villagers, we decided it was necessary to build a vehicle bridge. So that's what we will be doing. We'll be funding that construction project.
And in Sierra Leone, you're also building a school?
Correct. There are 26 villages in the area that we support. It's in the area of the second largest city called Bo. And this is one of the villages. And this village is so remote that they can't go to the school that we had previously built for the other villages. So we're going to be building a school on this site so that their children can go to school.
And tell us a little bit about the library.
Okay, 3 years ago we determined it was needed to build a library in Bo for the students. And over the 3 years it did get built. So we met here at the library to determine what does it need now and what improvements can we make. And the other thing I want to point out is my daughter Tracy spent 4 months after college determining and ordering what books to buy for the library and for the school next door. So she ended up ordering 23,000 books, working with this program, Books for Africa. And the books you see on the shelves are the books that she ordered.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you were telling me the other day that with inflation and everything, that in many of these countries there's a real problem with food insecurity.
Right.
And this next picture.
And so, you know, you and I can go to a market like this and just buy the food, but in these villages, the inflation has made it so challenging for them to just buy the basic necessities like corn and eggs. And so we determined the need to develop a Bow Village's emergency food bank, and we're going to try to raise $5,000 for that, and I'm taking that on as my task.
Okay. And what about Kenya?
Okay, in Kenya, when we were in, this is a school that's located right in Kibera, the largest urban slum in Africa. And this is this classroom that they currently use. And as you can see, it's not in very good shape. So this photo shows an architect who's showing us the plans for a new school. And we discussed changes for the school. And as a result of this meeting, we will start our construction this year. And I just want to point out that all the construction is done by people native to the country. We're just providing the funding for it, but we want them to build it and them to maintain it so they feel the ownership of it.
Plus, you're providing good-paying jobs for the...
Right. Mm-hmm.
And there's also there's also food insecurity in Kenya.
Mm-hmm. So there's another organization we work with called the Focus Dream Center, and one of the things they do is distribute food to needy families. So we spend part of a day lining up or providing them with their basic food supplies.
And this next picture is one of my favorites. It shows Andy with a young boy at an orphanage.
Right. This orphanage is called Children's Garden. It's run by a man named Moses who started the orphanage with 50 children, and he considers them all his children, and they call him their father. And he's done so well. It's gone from 50 children to now 500 children. And it's not just an orphanage, it's also a school, so he's teaching them as well.
And while Andy was in Kenya, he actually met with the vice president's wife
Of Kenya.
About this program.
And we met with her to discuss the need to have certified nursing aides that are trained in Kenya come to the U.S. and work for the company associated with Dr. Jordan. And we need to set up a special visa program so they can come for 3 years. They get more education in the U.S., they get paid American money, and then after 3 years, they go back better trained to help the people in their country.
And obviously, there were many grace-filled moments, and I wonder if you could share with us a couple of the things that really made an impression on you.
Okay, 3 years ago, we worked at this school called Bow School, and we saw them again this time around, and I'm continued to be impressed by the dedication of the teachers. Teachers get paid very little money, and in fact, the children don't want to become teachers because they know they're not going to get paid much, but these teachers are so dedicated, they really care about the kids, and it really stands out to me. And the children also stand out to me because they really want to learn. They're very enthusiastic. And as you can see, they're full of joy, even though they don't have much. So they continue to be an inspiration.
And so they basically really appreciate and understand what an education is going to provide them, opportunities that we take for granted in this country.
Correct. And the parents used to not want them to get educated because it took them away from the villages where they could do work.
Oh, interesting.
But now they definitely recognize the need for an education. So now the parents are asking us to help build schools and things like that.
And you ran into somebody who knew you in Kenya.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yes, that was my other memory that stuck out. Here I am in this remote village on the other side of the world, and somebody is coming up to me saying, Andy Graham. And I'm sitting there going, who knows me from that far away? And it turned out his name is Tomos, and I met him 3 years ago, very briefly, to the point where I didn't remember. And I asked Tracy, my daughter, about that, and did she remember when she was there 3 years ago, and she didn't remember him either. So, but yet he knew all about us, and it just showed me the impact that we have when we visit these people, that they remember us so well.
Makes you realize what you're doing is so worthwhile.
It really makes me want to continue.
So this is your second time going to Africa, and made me wonder, what motivated you to go back? After all, I can't imagine that the airfare to Africa is cheap.
No, the airfare is about $2,500, and the total trip was about $3,500. But SHGO is a great organization. They set their goals and they meet them, and they do it very well. And seeing how well they do the work makes me want to just continue. So I'm happy to be part of it.
Jesus said, as you sow, so shall you reap. So I'm wondering what you've sowed in Africa and what you reaped.
Okay, during the Ebola virus, thousands of people died in Sierra Leone, and it lasted for about 3 years. And during that 3-year period, when thousands were dying elsewhere in the country, in the 26 villages that SHGO supports, not a single person died. And the reason for that was SHGO's health precautions that they shared, their advice, and the willingness by the villagers to listen to it. That great cooperation was there, and that just makes me very satisfied and gives me motivation to continue.
That you're actually saving lives and improving lives.
Yeah, without question.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, Andy would probably be too modest to say this, but what you really did over there was you lived out the words that we heard in the scripture this morning. When Jesus said, "Follow me," and you followed him to Africa. And while you were there, you were doing ministry. And, sometimes people think that, when we say minister, it means me and Gail, a minister of discipleship. But Martin Luther believed in the priesthood of all believers, which basically means that we are all ministers. We all have gifts that have been given to us that we can use to make the love of Christ real in our world. It could be the ability to play an instrument that brings people joy. Motherhood is a ministry. Caring for God's creation in a garden is ministry. And what you did was ministry. And I remember I had a professor in seminary, taught systematic theology. His name was Gabe Thacker. And he said something once that I never forgot. And he said that communities of faith need both ordained ministers and lay ministers. And he said that without the ministers in the pulpit on Sunday morning, the church runs the risk of suffering from amnesia, forgetting who we are and what we're all about. But without all of the ministers in the pews, the church runs the risk of suffering from anemia, being weak and powerless. And so I always remembered that, amnesia and anemia. And so a healthy community of faith needs both. And you are a living example of that. And I know that over the next 2 Sundays, we are going to be receiving a special offering. Our outreach ministry discussed this, and they want to support you and your fundraising goal. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about what that is.
Okay. First, I'm just one of many in this congregation who are
Amen.
Doing ministry. Every dollar that you donate towards SHGO will go directly to the Bow Village's Emergency Food Fund. And our goal, again, is to raise $5,000.
There are 2 ways to do that.
Okay.
There are envelopes in the pews the next 2 Sundays, but giving online.
Okay, so if you give through the envelope, you can write out a check to the church, and that money will definitely go
just put
to
SHGO on it.
Oh, okay, yep. Mm-hmm.
Because once they take the checks out of the envelopes, we want to make sure that they still know where it's going.
Oh, I see, okay. And then the other way is to go to type in shgo.org, and then as soon as you get to that website, you'll see at the top it says donate. You click donate, and you'll get to this page. And then you select the amount that you want, and underneath apply my donation to, there'll be a drop-down list, and the bottom option is Sierra Leone Bow Village's Emergency Food Supply. So you click that, and then underneath that you'll see a comment section. You can write whatever you want in there, but if you want to just write Bow Villages, you'll see that on the donation page. Those are the 2 different ways to donate.
And I'm going to update some information that I haven't had a chance to tell you yet, but Stacy DiCarlo, who is a tech person, has set up a link for our church's online giving platform, specifically for this. So it'll be in the Hilltop News, and people can also give that way. And also in the Hilltop News, there's going to be a video of Andy's trip. It's about 12 and a half minutes long, but we do have this closing video. It's a part of that. It's about a minute and a half.
7 Hills Global Outreach was born out of the desire to care for our neighbors a world away to attain the most basic needs. Most desperate among the 8 countries in which we work is Sierra Leone in West Africa.
You know, it just occurred to me, 1 + 1 = 2. It's something very simple, and yet it all happened because of something very big that you and everyone in SHGO did. And so, on behalf of the entire congregation, I wanted to thank you, God bless you, and keep inspiring us.
Thank you.
Yeah.